We're doing this fine day today. Today I got a good one for you boys. We're talking about Lumen Tales, the memories of Trey. Came out not a little bit ago, a couple months, like 2 months ago, just about. And we're gonna do a little short review. I say short, but you can see how long this is, and it could be longer if I was really wanted to rant about some stuff. But anyway, let's talk about Lumen Tales. So, what is Lumen Tales? As a creature collector, a la your Pokemon. And for this review, I'm going to assume everyone is, at baseline familiar-ish with Pokemon because we're going to be using some terminology to explain a few features so you guys can understand. Because, they got their own terminology for stuff, and, I don't want to confuse you too much. But anyway, let's get into it. So, Lumentail, Memories of Trey, stars Trey. He's the main guy. Trey, he's a named character. You can't name him, unlike Pokemon, where you can just name your guy whatever. He has his own name. He has his own character. Um, so he talks. He does stuff. He's active in the story. And the story's about him, which is a nice surprise from really not even just Pokemon. Some other creature collectors that you'll find like on Steam, where your main guy or girl, just they're just a silent protagonist, like your Pokemon game. They just don't really say a whole lot. But Trey, no man, Trey's he's a full character, man. He's a full guy. Now, to start us off in Lumentail, you see Trey. Um, they're gonna ask you some questions at the start for like some personality stuff. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what that's for. I do know that once we get started, you see Trey. He's like in the forest. He doesn't know. He's got the amnesia, doesn't know where he's from, what he's supposed to be doing, all that stuff. So the local one of the kids finds him, brings him back to his house. His house just happens to be where the local professor is. Blah blah blah. We skip forward a little bit. Professor gives us, the choice of one of five Imon in this game instead of your normal three from your pocket monster. You get five choices. Depending on your personality that you answer the questions with, if you're familiar with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, that type thing, the professor will tell you which guy you should pick because it matches your like personality. All that really does is it means if you pick the guy that the professor tells you, it starts at level 8 instead of level 5. Which is it's cool, it's nice, but it's not like a big deal. You just go level up a couple times and you're back in it anyway. So after the prologue where the city it's being attacked by a couple of Imon, we stop them, and after that, Trey finally decides she's like, you know what, I'm gonna take this Lumen stuff seriously. Lumen is basically this game's term for Pokemon trainer. We're just gonna call them trainers. Um, I'm gonna become a trainer, and I'm gonna go over the continent and fight all the dudes and be the best guy, and hopefully find out some more about my memories and what I'm doing, who I am, and all that stuff. So I mean, pretty simple at the start. Now I'm not gonna be going into spoilers. So if you want to play the game, you are free to listen to this review, and you'll have minimal information. Like the stuff I just explained, like I said, that's like the prologue. Then once you get out the prologue, you can do some more stuff. But I will say though, we'll get into it a little bit. But I will say, if you are interested in Trey's story, just don't get too interested. Not that the story is bad. Story's story's fine. Story's good. It's just you get all this story at the start, and you're like, man, I'm hooked. I'm trying to see what's going on with Trey, and then the whole like middle bit. I say the whole middle bit, like from like the time you like get out the prologue, like basically the whole like gym. Well, I use air quotes, big air quotes. Gym challenge section has like very little information on Trey. And then you get to like the end game, and then it's just like, oh, we let's get all this Trey stuff done. And it's like, oh, okay, here's a bunch of more information on Trey. It's like, oh, okay. No, it's not like there's nothing going on in that middle bit. It's just it doesn't really deal with Trey. It's about okay. Well, like I said, you're just letting you know up front if you're going in and you're like, man, it's Trey, he's got a lot of stuff going on for him. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting. And then there's like 20-25 hours where you don't really do anything with Trey, and then it's like the last like 2 or 3 hours, and it's just like, oh, here's all the rest of that Trey stuff that I'm sure you forgot about during that whole that whole midsection. So anyway, let's get on to the game itself and the mechanics, how it works, and some good stuff about the game, some bad stuff about the game. So we can start off pretty easy. As I mentioned before, Trey and his associate, like two characters, two kids that he has with him, Alice and Nana. Just played the game, just forget her name already. Both of them, they are all three of them kind of make up the main cast. They're all good characters. Thumbs up, good characters. It's hard enough to get one good character in the game, let alone three characters. So, props to you, props to you. Three characters, and I was interested in all of them. I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. I like these characters. And some of the side characters too that you meet, they're fine. They don't stick around too long to get like annoying. You'll like run into them, talk to them for a little bit, and then move on to the next place. It's like, okay, and that's it. Now, I will say on that note, the plot kind of structure in the game is a little, once you know about it, it's a little annoying. It's a little annoying. Um, so basically, if you've ever seen one of the movies for like the Pokemon anime, where like the gang comes to like a new town, there's something going on, they you know fix the problem by like fighting the big boss of the movie or whatever, and then everybody celebrates and then they leave. That's the structure for pretty much every city in Lumental. Trey and the gang will come to the city. They'll meet a couple people. Most of the time the people will be like the big air quotes again, gym leader. They'll meet them. Something will be going on. Something will happen. They'll have to go defeat a big boss guy and stop them from destroying the town or whatever they're doing. Then Trey will go and then he'll fight the gym leader to defeat them. And then you'll leave and go to the next town and do the same thing over and over and over again. You'll do that 8 times, 8 times, and yeah, and it's just like when you're playing the game, it's not too bad because you're just seeing the sights. You're like, oh, okay, this town looks cool. You're checking out the different mons, the shops, see what they got, and then story stuff will happen, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. But then like I said, once you're aware, 15, 20 hours in, you're just like, hey, wait a minute, I've seen this episode before. But yeah, it's the same deal. It's the same deal. It does not change during that whole kind of gym rush portion of the game. Now, that being said, it's not bad, but like I say, it's very predictable. You're gonna come in, you're gonna do the same thing that you've been doing. Now, they might be in a different order than how they are, most of the time. Maybe you go in and fight the gym leader guy first, then you fight the boss, and then you leave. Or then maybe you come in, you do a little dungeon, little quest or something, fight the boss, then the gym leader, and then leave. Or then maybe, you fight the gym leader, then do the dungeon, then fight the boss and leave. Like I said, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Now, that being said, how is the main thing you're here for? How's the combat? The combat. Well, I will say first off, the monsters in the game they are cool. They are cool. I am okay. There's a lot of times where I play quite a bit of the creature collectors, and sometimes some of the monsters I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm not jiving with this guy, man. I don't know. And it's like okay, but some monsters are like, oh, this guy's cool, but this guy's really not, or they got a cool guy, but like, he doesn't evolve in anything, and he's like kind of bad. It's like, okay, all right. But this game, like I said, the monsters are cool, and they pretty much most of them stay cool. Now that being said, before we can talk about the battles, let me tell you about these cool guys, these cool monster guys. Spawn rate. Spawn rate in this game is low. It is very, very low. Incredibly low. Suspiciously low. A lot of these cool guys you see, he's like, oh man, that guy looks cool. Wonder where I can find him. You won't. You won't find. You just won't find him because the spawn rate's so low. And then not only is the spawn rate low, but I'll put it on the screen. You have big routes. Routes is a big routes. Routes in this game are pretty big. You've got monsters all over the route. Okay, all over the route. Now, if you're coming from Pokemon, you would think, okay, this guy's on this route. I just gotta, I'll just walk around and until I find them. No, you will never find them because not only are the routes big, the route spawns for the monsters are broken up into different sections per route. So let's say you're looking for, Raremon number two. Uh, Raremon number two, it says, he's on route, route five. So okay, I'm on route five. I'm looking for this guy. I don't really see him. You spend, 10, 20 minutes looking for him. Like, man, I don't see this guy. This guy must be really hard to find. And he is, but also he only spawns in spawn section number three. So you have to go to the route and then go to spawn section number three and then start looking for that guy. Because if you're on, spawn section 4 to, I don't know, 10, you're never going to find him because he doesn't spawn there. So you have big routes, and then you have rare mons on these routes that only spawn in particular sections on the routes. Now, I'll show you right here. Here's a big route. There's a rare guy here. If you play the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, big route, big ass route. He spawns, I'm going to show you, between this wall over here by this cave, and then if we move over a little bit more, this wall over here next to this mountain. In between here, there are two monster spawns. So if you've got two chances to get like this 2% spawn. And if you don't get the 2% spawn, you just go into the cave and then come back out and then try and get the spawn again. And like I said, I did this for about 2 hours, I want to say, maybe 2.5. Didn't see one. So yeah, good job, game. Good job. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Now, anyway, outside of that, we can talk about some other things like the battle system. Let's get into the battle system because I'm sure you've been looking at the footage and be like, "Hey, whoa, this doesn't look like my pocket monster." It's like, nope, it's a little different. It's a little different. It's got its own thing going on. So the first thing you probably notice is yes, every battle in the game is 4v4. Well, I say 4v4. You'll have four guys. The opponent might have, they have however many they want. They can have three. They can have four if they want to. If you get into a boss fight, obviously that's, well, outside of one boss fight, it's, boss fights are all one on one, or I say 4v1. There's only one boss that you need to fight. And the way the system works for the game is there's no PP for your moves, no power points. So your moves, if you see the dots on the side of the screen, kind of like the bottom left, those are your SP. And each Imon has a number of SP dictated to it, and then so when you throw out all four of your guys, you get the combination of all that SP, and your moves require different amounts of SP. So you can use big fire blast, big hyper beam move if you want to. It's just going to cost you 3 to 4 SP. You can use some big AOE move if you want to. It's going to be like 4 or 5 SP, and you have to stick with this SP for the whole turn, and you got 4 dudes to go through. So if you've only got, let's say you've got 10 SP or even 11 SP, you can't use a 4 SP cost move on all 4 dudes. That doesn't add up. That's 16 SP. You don't have that much. So you've got to willingly slot in like weaker moves so that you can use them during your turn. Otherwise, you're just kind of passing your turn without doing anything. Now, if you're like big dick and you can just like smash through the death, like I can do it on but I'm like in game. I'm like I've already finished the game, so I've got like a big 4 SP move that hits like an AOE. I'm just like, yeah, that kills pretty much everything. So. But I can do that and just knock it out. Now, at the start of the game and even in the midpoint of the game, you're not going to be able to do that. So you got to figure out what moves you can, you want, what moves you don't want. And sometimes you're gonna have to use a less powerful move. You might have two fire moves, one big fire move for like 4 SP that hits like everything. If you can, if you just happen to have the 4 SP and you just want to use it, or you might have a smaller fire move for like 1 or 2 SP so that you can always like guarantee that you can at least do something. Now, with that system explained, there's another little you see some stars above the SP. That is the TP. Um, if you hit an enemy with either a crit or super effective damage, you will gain 1 TP. Now this does stack, so if you hit a guy with a crit and a super effective move, you get 2 TP. This also stacks with AoE moves. So if you hit a guy, if you hit, well, let's say you're hitting three people with your move. If you hit 2 of those guys with super effective moves and crit a guy, that's 3 SP, and you get the idea. So you can it can really start to get out of control. This is also the reason why AoE moves cost so much more, is because if you happen to have like an electric move that's AoE, and the enemy team is all weak to electric, you can hit if you hit 3 or 4 of them. I mean that's a full TP bar right there. Now you might be asking yourself, well, Roxas, what does a full TP bar get me? Well, my friend, it gets you a free turn. Get a free turn. Get a free turn. What does this free turn do? You can do whatever you want, man. You get 1 free turn. You can select any one of your monsters. Select any move. It does not cost SP, and just do it right then and there. So if you've got like a big slow guy that has a lot of strong attacks, but he has to wait until he gets to his turn, and you can see the turn order in the top left. If you got like a big slow guy that like he's got to wait, and like the enemy team might gang up on him and might kill him before he gets his turn, you can use your free turn and just let him go right then and there and use his big AoE move and just take the dudes out. So now this also applies to the enemy. Enemy has the same thing, and we will touch on that in a little bit. So outside of that, I mean that's pretty much the battle system. I will say also, real quick, there are no like hard status conditions in the game. Like your Pokemon, like there's no burn, there's no like sleep or poison or anything like that. So there are like stat boosting moves and other kind of utility moves in the game that you can use, but they don't directly just go. You can't cheese the game by just going, yeah, I'm just gonna toxic stall this dude, or I'm just gonna burn this guy, and he's all physical attack, so his attacks don't do shit. So so that type of thing. So they've got other things like stat boost moves. They've got some moves that reduce the enemy's SP for that turn. They've got some other moves that like give you more SP for that turn. Healing moves, stuff like that. So they got kind of creative with it. They got kind of creative. You know, instead of just being like, all right, you're poisoned, you're paralyzed, burn, all that stuff. So they got rid of that because like I said, if you've played Pokemon, you know how like that is your crutch, that is your cheese. You just throw on poison or burn or paralyze, and you just kind of cheese your way through the game. That's just how it is. I don't make the rules. We all do it. We just cheese our way through the game. Now, that also being said, moves in this game mostly are 100% accurate. There's a couple of moves that are less than 100%, but they're few and far between, which is nice. So you don't have to worry about Stone Edge missing. You don't have to worry about Focus miss. You don't have to worry about any of that other nonsense where it's like, oh, this is a good move, but it misses, so I have to use this less powerful move because it's more accurate. No, you don't need to do all that, man. You get a cool move, use it, man. Slide it in. All you got to worry about is how much SP it costs. So I appreciate that. Thank you, LumenTale. I appreciate that. Now let's talk about the bosses. Let's talk about the bosses because the bosses are pretty much. I will say right now the difficulty of this game is cool. It's like a steady, steady slope up. Not too much. When the start of the game, it does is kind of tough because you don't have too many options. But later in the game, things start to smooth out, and the difficulty curve is it's very steady. I appreciate it. There's not too many big jumps in difficulty. There are a couple, but like I said, once you get past the start, you should be okay for the most part. Now, the big jumps in difficulty are pretty much always the bosses. They are all the bosses. All the bosses are big ass difficulty spikes. Why is that? Because the bosses are singular enemies. Like I said, except for one. There's one that has four, but whatever. They're singular entities. So in a battle system that we just explained, where your SP is tied to the monsters that you have, and your TP is tied to how many monsters you have on the field. How does that work for bosses? Well, bosses just, because the system is unfair for bosses because the game isn't really designed around, 1v1, you have four dudes on the field and you're supposed to play around that. Bosses always start with like around six SP so that they can use their moves. Also, bosses get 2 turns per turn cycle. So, it's not like, oh, I can attack with all four of my guys and the boss gets one attack. And then it's my turn again. I got all four. Like, nope, they get two attacks per turn cycle. Also, bosses have 2 TP. So remember we talked about TP and that works for the enemy and they can get their extra and special turns too. Yep, that works for the bosses. And bosses have pretty much all of them have some except for like the first couple have some AoE move. And as I explained before, how the way TP works. I'll just say this now: if you're playing the game, or if you have, attempt to pick up the game, want to play the game, you will do not feel bad. You will pretty much lose to like every single boss one time, just because you won't know what they're weak to, you don't know what they do, and they will have a big AoE attack that will either crit you or hit a guy for weakness. And all they need is two. They just need two TP, and they get a free turn. And guess what? They can do that big AoE move again because it's a free turn. You can cast whatever you want. So yeah, there are plenty of times where it's like, all right, I'm doing okay. I'm doing damage to the boss, and boss does big AoE electric move or whatever, hits my water guy for super effective, crits another dude just randomly. That's 2 TP. He gets a free turn. Gonna do some big ass, single target hyper beam move. All right, well I just killed your guy, and it's like, okay, well I guess I got to switch out. I guess I got to send in another guy. So that is it's really annoying. And like I said, pretty much every boss. Like now, when you get like in game, this isn't a problem, or it really shouldn't be. The final boss will be a problem, but the other guys you should be okay once you get like towards the end of the game. But that like start and like the middle bit of the game, that is rough. That's just rough, man. It's rough because like I said, you're going up against these dudes. You don't know what type they are. You don't know what they do, and they're just gonna roll over you. Now, once you have that information, you go back and fight them, and it's cool, and you just smash through them. So like the difficulty is weird because like I said, once you know what to do to the boss, it's not like the boss itself is like mechanically hard. It's just like, oh, this dude's weak to, I don't know, rock and ice. Well, I didn't have any rock and ice dudes on my team, so I just go, you lose the battle, goes back and like, okay, well let me put the rock and ice dudes on my team, and you go and fight the boss. And it's like, oh, okay, well there you go, easy fight. Now that being said, like I said, the game outside of the bosses are it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. The bosses themselves, they look cool, and later in the game, you can catch them later and put them on your team. But it is very annoying. It's very annoying to fight these dudes, but they only need two super effective hits or two just random crits to get a free turn and just kind of like roll over your team. And it's just like, this feels bad. This feels bad. This does not feel fun. So outside of that, let's talk about some other stuff in the game. Game's got some cool locations, some stuff you would expect. They've got like a coastal town. They've got like a big like sci-fi city town. They've got like a big like amusement park type town. Pretty cool stuff. But like I said, they're cool locations. The routes are cool and interesting. Um, there's a gimmick where you're, what do I call this? It's called the Hollow Canvas. Basically, your like Pokeball launcher. It's like a yo-yo with like your not Pokeball on it. It starts out fun, but I will say the gimmick with the Hollow gets kind of annoying later in the game. First, it's cool because it's pretty much the game substitute for HMs. So you don't, they put obstacles up so you can't just go everywhere on the map. So the first one you get is like the rock one. So you catch like a rock mon, any type of rock monster. Go to your the menu on the bottom, switch them to like the front of your party, and then throw your holokin. And if there's a rock in the way, you can just blow up the rock. Or sometimes it's a wall, and you just blow it up. You'll see like a little symbol of what you need to do. Throw it, break it, and then obviously that's the Pokemon equivalent of Rock Smash. So, as anybody who's played Pokemon, especially Gen 3, you know that HM slaves are not fun. They're not a fun mechanic in the game, and I really wish they would just get rid of them. But I get why they're there, but I still hate them. So in this game, they're just like, no, you just need like a monster of this type to do this thing. So any monster of this type can do this thing. You don't need to like waste a move slot or, God forbid, have a whole slot dedicated to a guy to use, an HM or whatever. So it's cool, but like I said, later in the game, it gets annoying because they have a different each like element or type from monsters. Pretty much, not all of them, but almost all of them has their own like thing that they do for the Holokin. So imagine if in Pokemon every type of Pokemon had an HM assigned to it. So like rock dudes had Rock Smash and Rock Climb. Normal type dudes could only use like strength. You need like a grass dude to use cut. If you wanted to use serve, you had to have like a water guy. If you wanted to use like waterfall, you would need, I don't know. Let's just bear with me. Let's just say you need an ice guy to use waterfall. If you needed fly, you need a flying guy. Like you had to have these types of dudes in your party. Now, normally not too bad. But in this game, it's really annoying because even just regular routes have multiple like puzzles for you to solve with like different things. Like one will be like, all right, you got to use a water guy to trigger this thing to go in this bubble. And then once you go in the bubble will take you over here, and then you need a grass guy to like vine whip over to this side of the mountain and go over here. And then once you're on that side of the mountain, there's an electric fence that you need to depower with an electric guy. That you might think, well, you've got a team of 6 guys. There's a bunch of types. It doesn't sound that bad. And again, on paper, it doesn't until you realize that the Holokin only takes into account your monster's primary type for whatever ability you're trying to use. So let's go back to our Pokemon example that we had a second ago. Let's say you have a water ice type. You got your Lapras. Okay, now in this imaginary example, let's just say water's the first type, ice is the second type. And in this example, surf is tagged to water. Waterfall is with ice. If you come up to a waterfall, you cannot use that Lapras to climb that waterfall because its primary type is water. Even though it's both, the game won't register both types for the Holokin. So if you have I don't know, a wind guy that's also an electric guy, and you need to turn off the electric fence with an electric guy. Well, you can't use that wind electric guy. You got to go back in your box and grab an electric guy or a guy whose primary type is electric. Now, granted, you do always have your box on. You just go into the menu and just press a few buttons, and you can like switch out a guy. So it doesn't take that long. But when you're having to do it constantly, man, it gets annoying. It gets annoying. It gets really annoying. Where it's just like, yeah, I'm just chilling. Oh, look, there's a cool item over there. I need a fire guy to burn down these vines. All right, well, guess I'll go get a fire guy. Oh, there's a pool of lava over there. Need a water guy to cool down this lava. Oh, there's a thing over there. Need a guy to do that. It's like, oh my goodness. And even though when you technically have a guy to do that, but it doesn't count their primary type. So you're just switching between dudes because you can't, that like fire electric guy can't use both fire and electric. It's super annoying. It's super annoying. Super annoying. Outside of that, some other like small issues with the game. Load times can be a problem, especially if you're looking for rare spawns, like the example we talked about, where you go in the cave. If he doesn't spawn and they come back out and it respawns all the dudes, and you're hoping for the spawn to show up. Some of the load times, especially when you're entering or exiting like an area, can get pretty long because it's loading the area and like spawning in all the mons on the route at the same time. because they're all in the overworld. It's not like Pokemon where they're hidden in grass and the spawn isn't calculated until right before you encounter it. So some of the sometimes load times can get a little silly like that. Like I said, if you're looking for like a dude and you're like constantly despawning and respawning monsters. Another like issue, just kind of annoying. You can't skip cutscenes. So again, we talked about how you're pretty much guaranteed to lose to a boss fight. Yeah, you're gonna have to watch that cutscene and just kind of mash through the dialogue again, or like any like kind of sequence where it's just like, oh, you're talking and you lose the fight and you want to go back. Yeah, you got to go through and read that dialogue again. And it's like, man, really, we just don't have a skip button. This also includes the end credits. There's no skip button for end credits either. So you just got to sit there and it's like, oh my goodness. Some other things for the game. The overworld map just doesn't show you your location where you're at for whatever reason. Like I don't know why. Like if you're on a route and you use the local map to see where you are on the route, that'll show up. That's fine. But if you go to the big overworld map, it doesn't have like an indicator to show you, hey, you're on this route right now. Why? Why doesn't it do that? I don't understand. That's another thing. I don't get that. Also, talking about maps, why do dungeons not have maps? I don't understand. Routes have maps. Towns have maps. Caves have maps. Dungeons don't have maps. They do not have a map. Why? Why don't they have a map? I don't understand. I don't understand why they don't have a map. So that's another thing that's just kind of annoying, especially because dungeons are huge. Like dungeons need maps more than caves need maps. I mean, really, I'd appreciate if everything had a map because again, I just don't understand. There's no reason to not have the map. But dungeons, no maps. Why? Why don't they have maps? I don't understand. Please add maps. Just patch in the map, man. Like you're not fooling anybody by making me go through this big teleporter maze in the ice place and I don't have a map. Stop. Stop that. That's evil. Villains do that. Villains do that, man. Don't be a villain. Don't do that. Now, other things I will say about the game does, you do have to do some exploring to find them, but the game does give you tools to help like raise your monsters. Because later in the game, they'll give you some other stuff and be like, hey, we made it easier for you to raise up different guys and experiment and have fun with the game. So you're not like hard stuck, like kind of like you are in Pokemon, where once you get past like the fifth gym, your team's pretty much set. Like you're not really going back to level up like some like level 5 guy, for like your team because he looks cool, unless you really really want him. But in this game, you get tools to level up your guys. There's like a whole like experience like holder where every time you fight and beat somebody, a portion of that EXP goes into like this like pool, and then you can just use that pool of experience and like level dudes up super super quick. You can just select like, all right, do you want to like boost this dude up 10 levels? You can just boost them up 10 levels as long as you got the EXP for it. You can just do it. And the same thing, there's other stuff for like IVs. Yes, dudes do have IVs in this game, but you have stuff that you can do to max them out later, and stuff like that. Moves, you have all your moves pretty much as long as you learn them. There's no, oh, I only have 4 moves. Let me forget this move, and then, oops, I want this move back. Let me go to the move relearner. No, none of that bullshit. You just go to a menu, select it. Even though I know newer Pokemon have this, you just go to the menu, select it, choose whatever move, swap it out, whatever move you don't want. So, very, very helpful. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. The other thing, the last thing we'll touch on real quick. The game does a very poor job of explaining certain things in the game. Why this is, I do not know. For example, after you beat your third gym, you get the hoverboard, which is basically the equivalent of surf. So you can fly across water or whatever. The game shows you, hey, you got the hoverboard. Use it to go across water. The game does not tell you what button you press to access the hoverboard. Now you might think, oh well, it's in my bag. I just go to my bag and equip it. Nope, can't do that. It's a button. It's a button on your keyboard slash controller that you have to press. It does not tell you what button that is. Now, if you're on PC, it's control. I'll just tell you, it's control. But you can guess how annoying it is to be like, hey, here's this thing that you need to cross this water. And I'm just like, how do I access this? I go to the item, I can't use it. So I'm just over here smashing my keyboard until I was like, oh, it's this button. Okay, cool. And now I know. Why does it tell me that? Speaking of other things it doesn't tell you, um, the evolutions for guys. We're going to go into a little bit, this won't be a long explanation, but during battle, there's a little scan mechanic that you can do. You can go to an enemy monster, click on it, and click scan. This will use that, whoever's turn it is, and it will use 1 SP, but, whatever. Now, you can scan it up to 3 times. There's 3 levels of scan. Levels 1 to 2 are, pretty much primarily to show you what the monster is weak to. The first scan will give you half of that monster's weaknesses and resistances, and then the second scan will give you the other half. Now, the third scan, when you scan, doesn't look like it does anything. But what happens when you go to your Pokedex, or I'm sorry, your your iWiki or whatever the fuck it's called. This is called Pokedex. If you look at a guy that you have, levels 1, 2, and 3 give you different information on that monster. So level 1 gives you, basic information like, okay, here's like this guy's like stats. Here's his typing. Here's like abilities he can learn. Level 2 gives you like the full move list and what levels they learn moves, and it gives you like other stats. And then level 3 shows you the monster and if it can evolve into anything. Now, I'm going to show you a big asterisk on that. It tells you if the monster evolves and how it evolves, because it doesn't. It just, if a monster evolves by level, it'll just say evolves by level. What level? Doesn't tell you. Doesn't tell you. If a monster needs an item to evolve, it'll just say evolves with item. What item exactly? I don't. Doesn't tell you. Doesn't tell you. There are also a handful, and I mean handful, I mean a lot of guys in the game that evolve with different conditions other than level or item or level plus item that you just will not figure out, and the game just does not tell you. You will just have to look it up. And I think at level 3 you should just tell me what that is and stop beating around the bush, man. There are some guys that have to be X level and a certain time of day. Some guys have to be X level and on this route specifically to evolve. Some guys, you've got to catch 5 copies of this guy, but they all have to be the different copies. It can't be the same one. The 5 different variations of this guy. Put them all in your team, and then have a certain weather condition, and then you can evolve it. You're not figuring that shit out. You're not figuring that out. You're not figuring that out. So I'm just like, why? Why make like I'm gonna look it up? Why make me have to alt tab and go look it up? Just put it in the game. Like you're not fooling anybody by being like, oh, how does this one evolve? Oh, it's a secret we don't know. It's like, come on, man. I can just go look this nonsense up. So outside of that, that's my last like pet peeve for stuff for the game. Like I said, overall, I have fun with the game. I put about 51 hours in the game. A lot of that was like shiny hunting at the end. But yeah, I had fun with the game. Like I said, it's got some issues, but not big enough issues to where I'm like, nah, this isn't fun. This isn't fun. There were a couple of bugs that I came across. Where like my shiny guy spawned, but he spawned under the water, so I couldn't get him. And also, there was another bug I encountered where like I couldn't open like the menu, which the game auto saves. So all I did was just close the game and just open up the auto save. But that is weird. Like I couldn't press escape and open up the menu. And again, like I said, the guy spawning underwater, and he was my shiny guy. So I had a copy of him already, so it was a duplicate. So I wasn't that pissed, but I was kind of pissed though. I was like, come on, man, this feels wrong. But anyway, if you like what you've seen, like what you heard about the game, go pick it up. It's like it might be on sale right now. I don't even know. But go pick it up. I think even if it's not, it's like $30 full price. So you know, save up your allowance for a week or two, and you're good to go. But anyway, I'll catch you folks later. Be sure to check out LumenTale Memories of Trey if you want to. It's on Steam and Switch. I guess Switch 2. I don't know if it's on regular Switch, but we'll just say Switch 2. If it is on regular Switch, go knock yourself out. But yeah, that's it. I enjoyed the game a lot. It's got some problems, like I mentioned before, but I think it is worth a shot. So if you like so, go ahead and try it out, man. I think there's also a demo, I think. So you definitely can at least try it for free, and then from there see if you see what you want to do. Anyway, I'm out of here, fellas. I'll catch you boys and girls next time.